Hello, today I'm going to record this Storytime Sunday with a story that effectively happened 2 days ago, just because at the moment I can't think of another Storytime Sunday of which I already had planned, which as well, I've said which a lot there. On my phone in my notes, I'm pretty sure I've got a couple written down, and it's never that hard for me to think of, but I thought I'd just make this one because I'd literally just thought of it and it's currently in my mind, so I can do it well. So that's another good tip for all you people who don't think that you can get a tip on making a YouTube video from someone with 27 subscribers. That, it's currently in my head, so I'm going to be able to do it, hopefully, well. And so today's video, I thought, as I've just said, it's currently in my head, so I thought I'd make this Storytime Sunday because also I was planning on before making a TikTok about it. And obviously the TikTok will be really cut up, but this one should be quite fast. No, this one won't be quite fast. This one will be just me explaining in detail, whereas that one will be cut up and fast. And so the hope is that obviously with all the videos and content that I've made, both on TikTok and YouTube, because those are my main sort of places, YouTube here where I make a daily video, and TikTok where I guess I make daily stuff as well, but it tends to just be things that I found funny or a trend that I feel like I can manipulate into something Star Warsy or something, put my own twist on it. And so the video that I was going to make on TikTok, well, as I was just saying, that the hope is that people will see stuff on TikTok and think, oh, I like that story, I'll go on his YouTube to see it in further detail. And so I'm sort of using my TikTok to plug my YouTube. And so the story that I'm going to talk about, I guess the story is going to be titled, and once again you'll find out already from clicking on it if it has been called this, but I thought I will call it this. I'm going to call it Leonardo Dicaprio. Now, before you say anything, I've never met him or anything. It's not the Storytime Sunday of how I met him and we did Quaaludes together or anything. They don't even exist anymore, so that's out of the question. But this video is going to be about how, and I'll just go into it, I'm just going to go into it now, and it's already been 5 minutes into the video, I'm sorry. But it's going to be here, and I'm always going to tell this story, as I've said, on TikTok as well, and I've always said on my YouTube videos that I can always just keep telling the stories because, let's face it, only 2 people are going to see this one maybe, if more than 2 people, and thank you for being the 3rd viewer or whatever. You'll know if you're the 3rd viewer if you've seen more than 3 or 4 views, because 2 of them are probably me. That's just true, isn't it? I should just keep it on a loop, shouldn't I? So, the Leonardo DiCaprio story. So, obviously the video will be called Storytime Sunday, Leonardo DiCaprio, I guess. Since I can remember, so basically forever in my timeline, my dad has always been telling me how much he dislikes all these fake Hollywood actors like Tom Cruise, and I'm trying to think of another one, and I have been to put it in the TikTok, but I haven't yet remembered or thought of one. So, fake Hollywood actors like Tom Cruise, some action star, I guess, sort of thing. Ray Winston, if you know Ray Winston, he's the bad guy in the Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Not bad guy, but he's sort of like an anti-hero because he teams up with Indy, but he's sort of not the best character, I guess. I'm pretty sure he's I guess he's a good guy. So your Tom Cruise is blah blah blah, and most famously the Leonardo DiCaprios of the film industry and what have you, because obviously he grew up with the John Voights, who's in Midnight Cowboy, with Dustin Hoffman, who's in The Graduate and Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium. Funnily enough, he was in Rain Man with Tom Cruise, who I don't think my dad's watched because of Tom Cruise, but he would enjoy that film because I've seen it, and Dustin Hoffman's amazing in it as Rain Man. And so he'd always tell me, or sort of push these opinions on me of how these actors are. And so for a while as a kid, if someone brought up, oh, did you see that new Leonardo DiCaprio film? I would sort of say, oh, no, I don't really like him. But that's just sort of my dad's view being pushed on me. And as a little tangent, which I always go on, obviously, it sort of makes me feel about how, you know, I did make a video about discrimination and my sort of opinion on it, which is obviously sort of a brave thing to talk about, I guess, because you know, I'm white, I'm straight, I'm British, I guess, so I haven't faced a lot of discrimination in my life, if any, really. And so I wanted to talk about it because I just had an interesting point of view that I thought people on the internet would enjoy. And I posted it to my Facebook, and a lot of people saw it, I guess. And yeah, no, it didn't really get like, oh, this is really good or this is really bad. It was just sort of, I uploaded the video. So that was fine. But it made me feel like how, for instance, if my dad said something racist to me, if people's parents, like, say something racist or discriminatory towards certain people, then it can be pushed on them, just as how, you know, I would feel that Leonardo Dicaprio is a bad actor, or not a bad actor, but just sort of like a phony, and that sort of feel, and how that was pushed on me. And for instance, it happened a lot in football, so if you're someone from like high school seeing this, you'll think, yeah, that makes perfect sense, because obviously being like a lad in year 10 and 11, you talk football like constantly. And for instance, someone would say something about a certain footballer, and I know for a fact I've been sitting at home watching football, like a football match with this footballer in it, with my dad, and my dad would say, oh, I don't like him, he's not that good. And so I would just sort of be the conduit for that opinion to other people. And then they'd be like, oh, you know, and sometimes I actually, in a really stupid way, I look back on it and just think that just doesn't make any sense. But as a kid, I just didn't, not even understand it, but I didn't even know how to understand it, I guess. The fact that, you know, just because my dad said it doesn't mean it's right. And I would say to sometimes kids, and I go, yeah, but my dad doesn't like that footballer, he thinks he's bad. And they go, yeah, but that doesn't mean he's right. And I'd go, I think it took them to say that to me, or from them saying that to me, that really sort of triggered the like the chaos theory in my head to sort of, and by chaos theory I mean like the butterfly effect, like all these knock-on effects to sort of go, oh yeah, like of course. And so for instance, when I talk about Leonardo DiCaprio, I've watched The Wolf of Wall Street like loads of times, and hence why I made that joke about Quaaludes, because he does that drug in the film. And so I really hope this isn't a video that should be age restricted, just because I've talked about that, because I guess, on a side note, kids see everything on the internet these days, don't they? So I guess my video is not going to make a difference, but that still doesn't mean that I shouldn't think about how my video is going to affect people, for instance. But so, in The Wolf of Wall Street, I've watched that loads of times. I remember thinking one time, oh, I've got to wait like 3 hours for something. I thought, well, I'll just put that film on, because it's like 3 hours long. And by the time I finish the film, and I'm like, wow, then I get to go do that thing, say if I was waiting to go out or something. And so I've watched it loads of times, as I just said, and I took my own opinion of his acting, I guess, his performance in The Wolf of Wall Street as really good. And I sort of, I gave my own opinion of it. And that's when I was sort of realised that obviously I'm mature enough to know that this is my opinion, and my dad's opinion, his opinion, is separate from mine, which is obviously allowed to be. And that's the hope with people that get discrimination pushed on them, or ideas of discrimination pushed on them, that they become mature enough to be able to realise that, no, that's stupid. Like, I don't care if you're my parents, that's ridiculous. And a lot of people now, I feel like, are, and that's obviously important because we have education from the internet and what have you. And that's sort of what the film American History X is about, with Edward Norton. That film's great, about racism and discrimination. I guess it applies to discrimination, but it's about racism, which is one form of discrimination. And me explaining that, about how categorically you've got discrimination and racism is like a subset of that mathematically, is sort of what I did in that video. And I've spoken a lot about that, but I'm talking about Leonardo DiCaprio. And so the main story of what happened a couple of days ago, because I'm going too quick now, I need to calm down, but I'm worried that this video is now like over 10 minutes long. See if it is, because that's interesting. Police car. At first I thought that police car was my computer trying to fly off, which is sort of a joke about how you turn an Xbox on and it goes. And now I'm getting off the subject. But, so a couple of days ago, obviously, as I said, this has been all throughout my life. My dad's told me how he hates Leonardo DiCaprio. I'll mention now, gave him the nickname Leonardo Dicaprio, which is genius in its own right. But also gets old when he says it 3 times a day. He wouldn't say it 3 times a day. Maybe if it was the day, for instance, that it came out in the news that he'd won an Oscar, I guess, because my dad didn't know or whatever, and I guess he sees it on BBC News, and obviously it was a big storyline because it was a meme on the internet, a big meme, that he'd been nominated for Best Actor how many times, like 5 or something, and he'd never won it. And then, funnily enough, he got it for The Revenant, which he wasn't even that good in. In fact, I was just about to say maybe there was no other better option, but I think that same year, I think it was 2015, I know that it was definitely at the same Oscars, he beat Michael Fassbender for Steve Jobs, which I just don't understand because I think he was amazing in that. And that's obviously my own opinion, and that's sort of how this whole thing works, isn't it? So a couple of days ago, I'm finally getting to the point, a couple of days ago, my dad calls me, and I was actually on TikTok live at the moment, at the time. So I was like live streaming, but on TikTok for all my, for all my 14,000 viewers, but there was only like 20 people in the live, because that's how that works. I'm not going to get into that. And so, actually my mum called me and I sort of went, no. And then my mum called me again, I went, no. And then my dad called me and I went, no again. And then so as soon as I finished, I called him and he went, okay, so I've got a confession. And at first I was like, what? But he always starts a phone call with something weird like that. And I'm just like, what are you on about? And he goes, so your mum and I watched the film The Departed together. And instantly I go, isn't Leonardo DiCaprio in that? And he goes, yeah. And so he sort of already sensed that I had already figured out that something was up about it, because I'd already that was the first thing that I mentioned. That was the first thing that was interesting. And so he goes, yeah. And so we watched the film, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, we've got the film, and the film's really good. And then he says to me, he goes, oh, there was this young actor in it that I didn't know who he was. And I thought, you know, he was really good in this. The end of the film, he looks up on IMDb, finds out it's Leonardo DiCaprio, and goes, yeah, so I've basically flipped the script on how I feel about him. After all these years, just the fact that he didn't know it was him, he basically got placeboed into then liking him. And then so he goes, oh, so your mum and I are going to watch The Revenant now, which I obviously think he shouldn't have won the Oscar for. Not only because Steve Jobs had Michael Fassbender in it as the main role, and he's amazing in that. You should watch that. In how he sort of portrays his like can-do attitude, not necessarily his can-do attitude, but his like decisiveness. No, we're not doing that. That's stupid. I'm the CEO. We're doing this. And it's a great film, and I love it so much. It's one of those that I would just watch at night, and it's just quite motivational to me, I feel, because of how he is in it. And I feel that from The Revenant, Tom Hardy, who's one of the supporting actors who was nominated for Best Supporting Actor, should have won it, because he was amazing in it. Like, I've not seen it in ages, but I just remember watching the film. I think I watched it. I watched it in the cinema. I was going to say I watched it before the Academy Awards, but I watched that Mad Max Fury Road before the Academy Awards. And so I feel like obviously they're going to watch it, and I said, oh, call me after you've watched it. I didn't want to say straight away that, I didn't feel that he should have won it, because clearly it's better if they go into a film without first impressions, i.e. about Leonardo DiCaprio and whatever, because he might think that The Revenant was the best thing he's ever seen, and obviously he was deserved of an Oscar. But, it really just, the fact that he's now just gone, what? It's like him turning to me now and saying he respects some footballer, for instance. He's always had like a harsh opinion of Rooney, and I've always said, like, in terms of me being able to now think for myself, I've said, like, do you not realise sort of how good he is? Like, he's no world, like, he obviously was world class, but he was no, you know, like, one of the best ever. Like, he was no Messi or Ronaldo. But, for instance, he scored a bicycle kick, which, if you're not a big football person, is just an incredible feat of agility and skill in football. And so he scored that. And I showed him a clip recently of him playing in the MLS, Major League Soccer in America, and showed him this clip. And so this is what I mean. This isn't about football, but I showed him an objectively good piece of football, which Wayne Rooney did. And obviously you can't say that it's an objectively good piece of football, because I guess football's like art, it's subjective, but it just is, it's quality. He does an amazing tackle and then passes the ball long distance, and then his team wins in extra time or in added time, and he's the captain. It was a captain's performance. And my dad sort of went, no, yeah, fair enough. Like, and that's sort of me now actually sort of showing him that, obviously, because I'm the adult, I'm the one that knows things, I guess. And so, yeah, that was the main point about Leonardo DiCaprio, how that one performance where my dad didn't, I guess, not understand, but just see who it was, didn't know that it was Leonardo DiCaprio, and sort of got, I want to say, placeboed into then liking him now, I guess. So that's that story done, and that's today's Storytime Sunday, Leonardo DiCaprio. So thank you for watching. If you made it to the end, I love you more than anything, because a lot of people don't, which I understand because they're not that interesting a video, but I get a lot of people saying, you know, you're interesting to listen to, so that's why I've made this channel and why I make videos like this. So thank you for watching. Have a good Sunday, I guess. I didn't know what to say at the end there, but I'll do my outro as I normally do. Thanks for watching.